I rise to acknowledge the life and contribution of a distinguished Western Australian, former member of the Legislative Council, farmer, community leader and lifelong Liberal, Murray Davidson Nixon AO. Murray Nixon was a man whose life reflected the very best traditions of public service in our country. He was not drawn to politics by ambition or ego, but by conviction, by a belief that communities are strengthened when people step forward and contribute. For Murray, service was not theoretical. It was practical, it was constant, and it lasted a lifetime. His story began as many West Australian stories do, on the land, on a family farm at Dalwallinu. That upbringing shaped his character. It instilled resilience, responsibility and a deep respect for community. Farming is not simply an occupation. It is a discipline of patience, judgment and endurance, and those qualities would define his approach to public life. After a period working with Powell engineers, Murray returned to agriculture, share farming at Dalwallinu and Killarney before purchasing Callaroo Farm at Mora in 1964 with his wife Meg. Together they built a successful farming enterprise, an Angus stud, later continuing their breeding operations at Gingin. Over the decades, he was involved in farming ventures across Western Australia, from the Kimberley to the South Coast, giving him a breadth of experience and understanding of regional industries that few could match. He loved the land and the life it offered. He had a lifelong affection for his cattle, sheep and faithful border collies, and away from farming he enjoyed cars and motor mechanics. One neighbouring farmer fondly recalled riding over to Murray's farm on weekends simply so they could restore and repair old cars together. It was a small story, but one that spoke volumes about Murray's generosity with his time, his patience and his willingness to share his knowledge with others. But Murray's life was never confined to the farm gate. He believed deeply that strong rural communities depended on participation, and so he showed up again and again across agricultural organisations and community groups. He served in the Farmers' Union as branch president, zone vice president and member of the General Executive. He was active in agricultural societies across the Central Midlands and North Midlands, served the Angus Society of Western Australia and was involved in the Pastoralists and Graziers Association and Central Midland Cattle Breeders Association. He served junior farmers for many years, becoming state president in 1961. He chaired St James Residential College in Mora, receiving a Distinguished Service Award, later became a Justice of the Peace and held leadership roles in organisations including the Country Regions Council of Western Australia and the Gingin Private Properties Group. This long record tells us something simple but profound. Murray Nixon believed in contributing, not occasionally but consistently. He helped because it was simply who he was, not because he sought recognition or reward for doing so. And it was that same spirit that led him to the Liberal Party. Murray was a Liberal long before he entered Parliament. He joined the Dalwallinu branch in 1961, later the Dangaragan branch in 1983. He served as president of the Mora branch from 1964 for many, many years. Over the following decades, he became one of the party's most dedicated organisational leaders in Western Australia. He served 20 years on the Moore Division Executive, including 4 years as President and 5 as Senior Vice President. He served in the O'Connor Division as Secretary, Vice President and President, and later as Secretary-Treasurer of the Durack Division. For a period of almost 40 years, he served on the State Council of the West Australian Liberal Party. For 25 years, he was a member of the State Executive and represented Western Australia on Federal Council for 8 years and served as State Vice President for 7. Those figures alone would represent a remarkable political career, even without elected office. They reflect not just longevity, but loyalty. Murray understood something fundamental about political parties. They are sustained not by headlines or personalities, but by volunteers, by people willing to attend meetings, organise campaigns, mentor candidates and carry responsibility without recognition. He was one of those people. The Liberal Party recognised his contribution with the Meritorious Service Award in 1991, the Distinguished Service Award in 2005, a Premier's Award and ultimately life membership of the Liberal Party in 2015, an honour that reflected decades of dedication. His political journey was not one without setbacks. He contested the Senate in 1987 and the Agricultural Region in 1989 before finally being elected to the West Australian Legislative Council in 1993. Those earlier defeats did not weaken his commitment. If anything, they strengthened it. He understood that politics requires patience. From 1993 to 2001, he served 2 terms representing the Agricultural Region, an electorate stretching from Kalbarri to Esperance, and he became a steadfast advocate for regional communities, farmers and rural industries. In Parliament, he chaired the Standing Committee on Constitutional Affairs and Statutes Revision for 8 years. He served on the Joint Standing Committee on the Commission on Government and Select Committees examining native title rights and legislation. His parliamentary contribution reflected his priorities: fairness, accountability and the protection of individual rights, particularly private property rights. Murray believed conviction should always come before conformity. He also believed deeply in the Westminster parliamentary tradition. In 2001, he represented Western Australia at the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association seminar at Westminster, an opportunity he valued greatly. His speeches in Parliament, from maiden to valedictory, revealed a thoughtful and principled legislator. He spoke about democracy, representation, agricultural competitiveness and respect for institutions with clarity and honesty. Even after leaving Parliament, he remained engaged in public debate and community advocacy, particularly on issues affecting regional landholders and property rights. In 2016, his contribution was formally recognised when he was awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia for service to Parliament, to the agricultural sector and to the community of Western Australia. But perhaps the most important aspect of Murray Nixon's legacy lies beyond titles and honours. It lies in his character. Those who knew him consistently described him as a gentleman among gentlemen. He treated everyone with courtesy and respect, always willing to engage openly and without judgment, regardless of their background or point of view. His decency was natural and unassuming. He never sought recognition for the support, encouragement or practical support he offered so many. He also took great satisfaction in encouraging younger men, particularly through working alongside them on the farm or in the workshop, passing on practical skills and the values that had guided his own life. And behind all this stood his family, his beloved wife Meg, his daughters, son-in-laws and grandchildren. They remember him first and foremost as a devoted husband, father, father-in-law and grandfather who made them feel safe, supported and never alone. Public life comes at a cost to families, and Murray never forgot the sacrifices they made or the strength they gave him through his years of service. At its heart, Murray Nixon's life carries an important lesson for all of us in public life. It reminds us that democracy depends not only on elected representatives, but on volunteers, on party members, community leaders and citizens willing to contribute over decades without recognition. It reminds us that politics at its best is a noble calling grounded in service. And it reminds us that the strength of Australia, particularly regional Australia, has always come from people like Murray, practical, principled and generous with their time. At Murray's burial, Christine described him as a true country man with a big heart, strong values and deep respect for the people and the land around him. I cannot think of a more fitting tribute. To his family, I extend my sincere condolences and my gratitude for sharing Murray with the West Australian community for so many, many years. His family, his friends, the Liberal Party and the communities he served are all better because of the life he lived for us. May his example continue to guide those who follow.